Fast casual dining is becoming a sweet spot for restaurant industry growth rather. Among some of the biggest names in this restaurant sector, you've got Cava, a standout. Shares are on a tear this year, up 110% year to date. Here to weigh in, we've got Brett Schulman, who is the Cava CEO. Brett, great to have you here in studio with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, so you're in New York doing some check-ins on some of the local Cava spots here. I mean, what are you finding in terms of the experience? Do you tell them that you're the CEO when you walk in?
No, some of them recognize me. We have some long-term general managers who have been with us who are excited that I get to visit them in person, given the growth we've had, operating in 25 states now in the District of Columbia across the country.
Wow.
What are you seeing just in terms of, we've talked a lot most recently about some of the cooling trends that we've noticed outside of Cava within the sector. I'm curious what you have seen trend-wise, whether or not that has shifted at all, given the fact that consumers have remained under a bit of pressure.
Yeah, we talked about this on our last quarterly earnings call, that we've seen consistent strength across all income segments, whether it's at the higher end of the strata or the lower end of the strata. And I think it's a reflection of the value proposition we're able to deliver, that unique Mediterranean cuisine where taste and health unite, and do it at a reasonable price. But also, when you think about value, we think about it in terms not necessarily of price, which is the cost, but a combination of factors. Quality, the quality of our cuisine, the relevance of that cuisine being on trend, Mediterranean diet, #1 ranked diet 7 years running, the convenience in which you access that cuisine, the experience, that hospitality we deliver when you engage with our brand.
So you haven't seen any sort of downturn then?
We have not seen any kind of shift in our consumers, we noted at the end of the last quarter.
You know, one of the things that you also talked about on the call is the timeline for a loyalty rollout, something that a lot of consumers out there lean into when they're trying to get around some of the high prices elsewhere, trying to cash in on some of those rewards. Any more timing, any more clarity around when that loyalty program might roll out en masse?
Yeah, we remain on track. As we talked about at the end of this year, we plan to relaunch the program. We're currently testing it in 2 markets, in our Houston market, as well as the Carolinas, and excited to see what the response from our guests and the engagement of our guests. And it's a way to really create our first-party audience and to be able to engage in a one-to-one way with our guests for the way they operate through our brand, the way that they behave, and be able to surface relevant content to them. So we're excited to be able to relaunch that and have more value for our guests.
I mean, how many bowls do I need to purchase before I get a free one, Brett?
Well, it's really about points. It's a points-based system, so you earn and bank points, and then you can redeem those points for a variety of rewards in the test market. So it could be anything from those craveable pita chips to eventually a free bowl, depending on how long you want to bank those points.
When it comes to the value aspects, since you brought that up, I think a lot of people have been focused on some of the value launches that have occurred, from most of them being within the fast food chain. But I'm curious, does that at all put any pressure on your business, or have you at all seen maybe more so from your loyal customers this need or this want to have some of those more affordable options?
Yeah, I think we sit at an interesting kind of nexus between traditional fast food below us and legacy full-service chain dining above us, where you can think about a family of 4 going out for dinner, and chain full-service dining experience has gotten expensive, as well as the time commitment, the relevance of the cuisine that I spoke to earlier. Seeing that trade down, they can get a great meal at Cava for a reasonable time commitment, a reasonable value. And then fast food prices have increased, according to the Labor Department, 30%, upwards of 30% from the time period of the end of 2019 to the end of 2023. That's compared to CPI at 18%. And at Cava, during that time period, we raised prices 12%. So that's only kind of amplified or magnified our value proposition, where you can get this great bowl of fresh Mediterranean food for the same price often, or $1 or $2 more than a traditional freezer-to-fryer fast food meal.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's hard to say that you're going to compete in the value meal wars, especially when you're offering things like steak on the menu and in the bowls here. I mean, and you talked about this in quarters past too, just what that would do to the business, anticipating it would be a margin rate headwind. What's the attribution for kind of the business performance been at least driven by steak right now?
Yeah, we're really excited about our steak launch. We had been testing it for about 7 months, and it has been very well received by our guest base. And it, as we talked about, it would be a COGS headwind from a rate standpoint. But
Why is that?
it's a more expensive protein, but from a penny profit standpoint, it was going to be neutral the way that we had priced it, and then ultimately drive greater frequency, greater top line sales over the long term, as it is another way that we can drive a compelling dinner day part, a dinner occasion. So 46% of our guests come to share a meal with us at dinner, and that's great balance across the country. And so this is another way to address their needs at the dinner occasion.
I was going through a couple of analyst notes before the show, and a number of them talked about the excitement surrounding that new offering. Brett, I also got to ask you about this TikTok phenomenon that's been happening with one of your competitors right now. Many people out there who have been actually going to Chipotle have been upset, accusing them of smaller portion sizes. I'm curious, one, your reaction to that, and two, just how you look at, as the CEO of Cava, just how you look at some of this reaction that we are getting on social media and what exactly that means here ultimately for some of those business decisions that are happening behind the scenes.
Well, I think what you're hearing from customers is, they're pretty fatigued by inflation. We've seen significant inflation in the past few years, and people will pay more, but they want to make sure they're getting good bang for their buck. They're getting good value for what they're paying for. And one of our values at Cava is generosity first and always. So we really work with our teams to make sure when we have this subjective walk the line format and people are picking out what they want to put in their bowl, that they get ample portions. And we work on that every day, and we make sure that if they scoop that spoon and that they don't shake any off, and that they put it in the bowl, and that they make sure people feel that spirit of generosity that is part of our brand essence, part of our Mediterranean way. And we work every day to make sure we're consistent with that across the country.
That's what I'm going to yell next time I'm on the line. Feel the spirit of generosity. My God.
Maybe that'll help you. You never know. Brett Schulman, as always, thanks so much for coming in here. It's great to have you in studio, CEO of Cava.
Thanks for having me.